You just told me that you have been in this world of mediumship, studying, teaching, practicing for 15 years. I thought it was a lot longer given what you're
Yeah,
doing, but 15 years.
professional 15 years
Okay. And you do about 220 demonstrations a year?
annually. Yeah, every year. Yeah. So I don't know what the numbers are. So like 2,500 dems now. So yeah.
Incredible. Uh, and you do one-on-ones, which nobody can get into because there's a huge wait, I know.
Yeah.
And I also know from personal experience, you have lots of classes that you're teaching and all of them sell out.
Yeah. So themed mechanical classes, themed classes, mentoring, all, every angle of teaching. So yeah.
So that's going to get me into what I'm really interested in talking to you about, which is your teaching style. So I
Okay.
know you're making headway because of your teaching style, and you're known as the no BS teacher,
Okay.
down to earth,
I
no
didn't know
BS.
that. I didn't know
You are
that. Right.
because of what you're doing. But for those of for those of us or people that don't know your style, why does that matter? It seems like what you're doing is different. So for
Well,
people,
I don't know it to be different. I just know it to be me, So I spent a tremendous. I was really really fortunate when I got into mediumship that I wasn't financially stable or anything like that. Mediumship you tend to find because like the world has imploded and you've lost people that you love and what have you. So it was like a bit of a downward slope, and I wasn't financially stable or anything like that. And fortunately, someone picked up my tuition bills with where I was being trained at. So I'd pay for the ones that I wanted to be on, but when it got a little bit more intensive, residentials and that sort of stuff, I just couldn't afford it.
yeah,
And someone picked that bill up for me. And I learned after about 2 years that it didn't matter who the teacher was, they were all teaching the same way. And so I found this like plateau within my own development, and like this has got to be easier than what they're talking about or doing, or it didn't matter who was teaching it, it was all the same kind of thing. um and I mean, in some classrooms, if your face fits, then you become a teacher's pet, don't you? And you seem to get along a lot easier. But a lot of myths or a lot of restrictions placed basically by the tutor of whatever class that is. If they couldn't do it or they couldn't work out how that process worked or understood the issue, then it wasn't possible. You never explored it. You never did it. Um,
yeah,
and I found that to be the issue. I found that to be the problem. And by then I'd spent, I don't know, tens of thousands of pounds in tuition to realize like maybe I need a reset, which is a horrible feeling when you're thousands of pounds into a development and you're thinking, I now need to go backwards to go forwards. So it was a bit of an eye opener, that one. So once that changed, I found much easier ways. Sorry, my camera's out of focus. Much easier ways. I studied my subjects from a mental point of view, understand the instrument, and understand all instruments are different. You see the world differently to I see it um, on a day-to-day basis. And I focused my training with that outlook, which got me the results that I was looking for. So it cuts a lot of the nonsense out.
there is so much in what you just said. I'm going to see if I can break apart some of it. So you talked about most of the teaching that you experienced was
Yeah.
similar, which is my experience as well. And you were having a plateau. And in my experience, I've seen a lot of mediums plateau and either just sort of stay there and be happy with it, or look for something else, or simply just quit because I'm seeing a lot of
Yeah,
that as
yeah.
well.
Absolutely,
Right.
absolutely. And I definitely saw that myself. I think in the 15 years that I gave you, maybe it is a little bit more. I don't know. It's a nice round number, isn't it? 15. And I realized with like a conveyor belt style of mediumship, I'll give that substance, you know, like age, passing relation, occupation, passing, hobbies. 2 years in, I was kind of like, this, I'm, this is boring. This is
Yeah.
boring now.
There must be
Um,
more.
it's just like, it's just like, I nearly swore there. Sorry. If I swear, I'm sorry. I don't mean
I
to,
think
but,
you should. It's who you
yeah,
are.
I think we're trying to squeeze everyone in a box that's a category. So, and what I mean is that you look at an individual in your daily life and you categorize that individual. You're like, oh, I bet they're like that. I
Mhm.
bet they're like that. I bet it's not with context. It's just this judgment in the moment of they look warm, they look comfortable, they look moody, they look, and we pop them in the box and popping someone in a box of judgment in I assume them to be like that restricts mediumship instantly. Because anything outside of that awareness, you're not going to be able to get because you've already judged the individual.
And I'd love to talk about outside of the awareness because I think this is something that I've not heard anybody but you speak about, to
I
be
don't think
honest.
anyone else understands it. That's why they're not teaching it.
Yeah.
They're so forceful in their own approach, certainly with the teaching that I had received, that it's their way or the highway, isn't it? And that was the issue for me. It's like, but what about the stuff that I know with my loved ones and you with your loved ones? There's stuff that you would like to hear about or certainly have the potential to hear about, but why these parameters around communication outside of that awareness is just unthought of. It's just untrodden territory right now.
And I'd like to talk about that because in your concept, and correct me if I'm wrong, most of what we're not getting that most of us want to get, let's be honest,
Absolutely. Yeah,
we can get, you're saying, but it's outside of our awareness. So there's a lot in that, but
yeah.
your teaching style is saying you need to have this in your awareness. And if you don't, you simply can't get it. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, kind of like that. It's not that if it's out, if you don't get it, you won't be able to receive that. The parameters have to come down in the fact that your need to understand someone else's story or your need to understand the perspective that that individual had will stop the availability of that information coming in because of this preconceived judgment of the person's like that. So the attitude, the mental approach that you need to have is not one of a judgmental value. I mean, you hear spiritual people talking about that level of judgment, and yet all you see is judgment. It's almost one of the most contradictory statements in the movement of spirituality, isn't it? But it is what it is. You know, there'll be stuff that you've done that you're not so proud of, you wouldn't say it made me. It's who I am today. It's locked away in a closet, and we try not to think about it because you know you were down or you're ashamed or whatever. So that judgment is then passed on. You look at other people in that way or doing that. And I think with the attitude of it is what it is. I don't care what you've done.
Yeah.
I will be your voice today. What do you need me to say? It kind of broadens the awareness or broadens the parameters of acceptance of this is a nice person. This isn't such a nice person. This is a
Yeah.
monster, you know,
Yeah.
and
Right.
here
And
we go.
there are people like that.
Of course there is.
But so if it's that simple, what do you want me to say? And I know one of your key phrases is keep it simple, but that seems to be lost on most mediums and most
Little
teachers.
bit it's lost on most mediums because the teachers that are teaching today's mediums are saying you need to understand what it is that you're saying,
Yeah.
which is immediately a problem for the medium to understand what it is that they're saying. They have to judge the story. They have
Right.
to understand the story. They have to put it in a like a palatable way where they can find vocabulary for it for expression. then it's a diluted version of the person's story, because the individual that's working with it has to understand it. And we're not going to move beyond that because you're not going to understand that. And there you go. So the problem will exist in the opening or in the connection to the communicator instantaneously when that judgment kicks in, and you have to understand what it is that you're talking about without context of a recipient, or without context of the individual that's coming. And yet you need to understand both sets of stories there. You've already got a problem. You've already got an issue.
Because the way that it's being taught frequently is you need to get the information and then tell a story about this information. And that
I
makes
think
you a
the
good
evidence
medium.
tells its story itself, though, doesn't it? Is it not better letting the communicator tell their own story? And I think the biggest problem in the teaching of mediumship today, which will really not go down too great, if you're in the teaching element, is I'm the assistant in the dynamic, and teachers of today are teaching mediums that they are the lead, and they're not the lead. They're the assistant. They're the bridge between the communicator and their loved one and their person in front of them, your client. So in between that, it's that the lead is telling the assistant what to say to the receiver. And any other form of dynamic there, you're pushing the datum point, the start point is in the wrong place, which means you're going to get the wrong outcome. Which, if you've watched mediumship or you understand mediumship in any way, you'll see mediums be quite aggressive, passive aggressive, and they're forcing statements onto a client that's saying no, or you can see that you're not striking a chord. And that's because they needed to understand and they are leading the conversation. When the reality is, if someone's mum's there, I don't need to force my statement onto the individual in a passive aggressive kind of way. I'm saying what mum wants me to say without me trying to work out what does that mean with that. I don't get it. I don't understand. It's just say it, and the evidence tells its own story. So the whole setup in my own mind is I don't need to make myself look good. Mum will make me look good. Dad will make me look good. Your fill in the blank will make me look good because I'm saying all the things that they want me to say, evidentially.
And it's a lot of pressure. It's on the medium because you see so many mediums just breaking down with frustration, anxiety seems to be the biggest one. Racing thoughts because if it's what you're saying, they're thinking it's about them and what
Well,
they
they lost the
want.
magic, didn't they? They lost the magic of when they first done it. When you first enter development, you're like, "Wow, this is amazing! You can't wait to tell the world." But then the pressure's so high because you've got to understand that in some styles, they're telling you you've got to make a story out of someone else's story that you don't know and give it to someone that you don't know. That you lose the magic in that, don't you? You lose the magic instantly. The pressures and burdens are too much because what if you ask the wrong question? Who's narrating this story? Is it me narrating it or the communicator narrating it? And the moment you get that wrong, the pressures are too much, and very quickly you see burnout. Very quickly.
And so the way to get around burnout is or let's put it this
No,
way.
I think you got to remind yourself why you're doing it. And in the first place, you would say to yourself, I want to educate the world that there is a spirit world. Look, here's your mum. Let mum have a chat with you. And that was the magic when you saw a fellow student light up. Like,
Mm.
oh my God, this is unbelievable. And it could be the most simplest of statements and throwaway statements that you've got, but you've been taught to make that sound good. And
Yeah.
by making it sound good, you've embellished it, you've assumed something, and you've cast judgment on your statement. So the throwaway comments you're keeping to yourself because you want more.
Hmm. Yeah.
You want more for something that isn't for you, which is already insane in its ideology. And you're not prepared to talk, but you're there in service. But I'm not saying that. I'm not going to do that. I don't get it. I don't understand it. So are you in service or are you working with a spirit world under condition? And you'll find a lot of people are working under condition that I get it, I understand it, and you do what I want. It's not
Absolutely.
service.
It's not service, but it ends up what I'm looking at, especially recently, is really similar readings. So we're looking at
Same
mediumship,
thing.
even the
I
ones that
passed with a
are
chest complaint. But everyone passes with a chest complaint, right? Their heart stops.
right. But these are people, I'm watching, I went through and watched a lot of mediums before I jumped on this call with you just to see like what is out there right now. And even really, cutting edge teachers and things like that. I'm seeing a similarity or
Yeah. Is it
among
self-publicized? Publicized
it's
good
not really
mediums?
mind blowing though, is it? Like,
It
so
won't be mind blowing because it's down to their showmanship on what they've learned, isn't it? Mind blowing is how do you get that level of depth where the client is absolutely gobsmacked by what they're hearing because you're getting gold nugget after gold nugget.
and
But
what you're saying to do is so simple, yet we struggle with that. So let's
if I need help with a box and I ask you to move the box because I've got back issues, you don't start opening the box and asking me questions on why I've got those items in the box and why do I want it moved from A to B? Why do you need that? You wouldn't do that. If I've asked you to move the box, you would pick the box up and say, where do you want me to put it? Then you'd put it there.
yeah.
And so that's all the spirit world are asking you to do. Look, here's a box. Can you give that to my daughter? Can you give that to my son, my partner, and you're not getting in the box and you're not tearing it up and asking irrelevant questions in a moment that is not for you. Yeah, sure. That's what the gift is, isn't it? The gift is the giving of the gift of communication. I'm giving you this. Here it is. From your mum, from your dad, whatever.
So with that concept, and I know you're teaching students how to do this now, it's almost like a new wave of mediumship in a sense. What are you looking at when you're looking at students that are coming to you? You've got so many now.
Well,
Um,
I instantly see the back training. I can almost, I'm at a point now where I can tell you what tutor it is
yeah.
on who's taught who, in that sense. So is that a good thing? Is that a compliment or is it restrictive? I mean, that it's down to you to sort of like judge that for yourself. But I can see it immediately. Oh, you've had training with. Oh, you've been working a lot with. And I think the problem is with students of mediumship, they're trying to emulate the name that they put on a pedestal. I don't want that. I don't think that's a compliment. If I've worked with you for a year and everyone goes, "Oh, I can see you like you sound like Charlie, you work like Charlie." I don't think that's a compliment. I think I've restricted you to my style of working. My job is that you bring a certain number of things to the table with your mediumship as a package. And I can see how your mind is overworks, overanalyzing, not doing enough, not being disciplined enough. And we get the best out of what you're offering at what stage of development you are. And you'll see near on instant results with slight tweaks. And that is not about practice. That's the biggest problem with mediums today. They think practice is key and doing what they do. It's not. It's understanding. If you understand what you're doing and you understand the potential trip hazards that's going to come up, you'll instantly see the results. I'll give you an example. If someone comes in to communication and you pause for any length of time, pause, just a 2, a 3, 4 second pause. The sensory experience that you're going through would have already morphed. It would have already embellished itself. And what the reason it's embellishing is for you to be comfortable with the environment of the thing that took place. And what you'll find is a lot of people will laugh if they understand what I'm talking about, or they'll be offended. But that they'll see water, and before they've said water, they want to know: is it a body of water? Do you live near the coast? Do you live rather than just talking about the water, they want to know why they're seeing water. And in the end, they'll say the man fishes,
Right.
and that's because you paused and you saw the water, you saw the bank, and the bank in your head is like, well, that looks like a lake. And before you know it, you've got a man in your imagination fishing. And so you'll say, and he's showing me that he goes fishing. And the client will go, no.
Right.
And that's because you paused. So I understand that my brain and my imagination is going to work in a way that houses an avatar for it to be okay. So for a car to arrive in mediumship, it would be on a drive, it would be in a garage, it would be on a freeway, it would be in an environment. My brain would give it an environment that says, oh, you're talking about a car. It doesn't arrive in a tree.
Right. Right.
Does it? Because your brain goes, why are you in a tree? Oh, you've had an accident.
Mhm.
And now you're talking about a car accident that didn't happen
Right.
because of that. So I understand the avatar approach. What does my brain need to fill in here? And the longer I hold that, the more detail I get. And the further I come off the point that I was trying to make. When I just need to say, he wants to talk about the water, and the client will go, yes,
So
move on, just move on.
with that, because so you must have taught yourself how to do that, because I've not seen anybody do that but you. So did
Yeah.
you have to then break apart your
Yeah,
teaching?
of course. Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
I've got a background of multiple styles of teaching. You know, they typically stem from like the SNU kind of way of working. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. There's a lot of great things that the SNU are doing. But that style is quite restrictive to the parameters that are placed, the understanding of a statement. And almost like having common sense with a statement.
yeah,
We're almost filling in the blanks with an assumed idea to make
when
it sound.
you so you must have said, I don't want this because it's limiting me. You had to break apart all of that. And for those of us who feel like they've been limited or doing that to ourselves, we must have to do that then. We must have to break that apart.
The problem is with any kind of development is that if for example you work with a teacher that at the beginning of class taught you to sit in a power, whether that be a meditation power or a power of the guides or whatever, it's very difficult for that student to work instantaneously because they didn't have their 20-minute warm up sitting in their power.
Yeah.
And so what happens is that becomes like a foundation level of your understanding of mediumship. That foundation is what I had to break. So you know, when I first started, I had to put imaginary roots in the ground and ground myself off and open up to a brilliant white light. And I had to ask for protection against the love of a communicator or the love of a spirit one. And so before you know it, I'm fucking 40 minutes in. I haven't done anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it sounds pretty and I think it sounds nice. But the reality is it's just not required. None of that stuff's needed. So I'm a overthinker, I overanalyze, I overprocess. And you give me 20 minutes in my internal thoughts and I'm a mess. So I need to move quick. I've got to move fast. And so I had to really break down that foundation that I was told was like the way to do it. And it just for me wasn't. So I challenged everything that was put in front of me, everything. I would question everything. And by questioning everything, I realized m- mediumship is limited to my imagination. So
Let's talk about
if
that.
I can believe or think that that is possible, then I'll go and find a way of getting it. I'll go find a way of doing it.
So that means that you're talking about your thoughts,
But well,
right?
are they my
Also,
thoughts though? Are they?
okay, let's talk about that because um, I was going to ask you anyways. You have spoken about this with thoughts. So when a medium goes into mediumship and they question just for a second, I don't know if I can do this. Last time I totally effed up. What am I going to do? there they go. They've already started to do that, right? So it's that.
And it'll mess up. That they'll mess
You
it up.
mess them
So
up,
you
right?
tend to find that when you're on a little bit of a slippery slope of bad reading or not quite getting it, it tends to linger around for a number of weeks, because you're like, oh, I hope today's the day, because last week I messed up, and what do you know? Here we are this week messing it up because of the idea. I think there are three absolute musts that you have to understand. There's the spirit world, and then there's the physical world, and in between is that thought process that we have, or that idea that we have towards a spirit world. So I would draw that on my board as three lines: so spirit, thought, physical,
Okay.
and whatever you think about, the information gravitates towards. So a real, simple idea of like attraction, law of attraction. I mean, in its simplest form. I think that's what people would associate with meeting the spirit world halfway, is the thought process. So the physical world, the spirit world, and halfway would be the thought process. And a medium, they would recognize where their thoughts are. Let's take two mediums with two different angles of development. And you've got one where they believe that they can go and get the passing condition, and you've got one that doesn't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that believes it, all the information with the idea of, right, I'm going to go and ask them about their passing condition. So the four is the passing condition. Then all the information that they will receive in that moment behind that thought will be that of the passing condition. Whether they understand it or not, all the information that will gravitate around that idea will be that of the passing condition. The person that goes in and goes, I'm going to try and get the passing condition, but I'm no good at it. They'll
Yeah.
go in and it'll be a void. It'll be a blank. It'll be out of awareness. It won't be there, because the overwhelming idea is, I can't do this.
So is
And
that confidence then? Is that confidence thinking I can do this?
I don't think confidence comes into the equation, because what am I asking there? Am I confident that Kira knows her own story? That's a
Yeah,
silly fucking
definitely.
question, right? So where the confidence in me knowing Kira's story, and I know very little about Kira. I've got no confidence in me having that information, but I'm not asking me. I'm asking you.
So again, we're back on that same
And
subject.
I'm in the assistant role, aren't I? So I'm
Yeah.
the assistant to getting your story. So tell the world your story, Kira. And I'm sitting here confident, knowing Kira knows her story. I'm not confident in Charlie knowing Kira's story, because I haven't met you in person, and I've had very little to deal with you outside of podcasts or a classroom. So
I think that it seems like that's something that's talked about so much about having confidence in your mediumship. It's all about having your own
it's the
confidence.
same as intention. Like, really,
Yeah.
honestly, when I
Yeah.
see classes or residential courses run about intention, I just get frustration's maybe the wrong word, but I feel, if you said to me, I've signed up, I'm going to do this, whatever the fee is, I don't know, seven, eight, $900 course on residential, on the power of intention,
Mhm.
just does my head in for you, because I'm like, that poor woman's going to waste another $900,
Yeah.
because you can talk about intention all you like, and you can have a mantra, you can have it on every wall in the house. Like, I've got this, I can do this. So it's like, I'm trying to promote the intention of being good. But if inside you actually feel, I can't do this, that will override any intention you ever set. So, like, I'm going to set the intention that the spirit world are going to be clear, they're going to be precise, they're going to be literal. But inside you're like, but they're not usually like that. Then that will override any intention that you set, doesn't it? So, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
people exploring or having the idea around this intention idea, they're approaching it from the wrong angle. You've got to approach in, how are you thinking about yourself? How are you thinking about the skill set? Your understanding in the skill set. What are the deepest, darkest thoughts that you're having? And it's a self-worth issue.
Uh, Better.
And so you might as well run a course on self-worth. rather than setting the intention, because the intention's irrelevant if the self-worth is not in place.
And that is the self-development, I would imagine.
Personal development, yeah. Like, you've got to ask yourself some tough questions, haven't you? In
I
personal.
feel I've asked a lot of tutors what is missing in mediumship, and many of them will say self-development. But I'm not clear on what that means to everyone. There are different ways in which I'm hearing about it. What's your idea about that? Like, what are the questions we should be
I think a
asking
lot of them
ourselves?
need to be
I
doing
think so.
self-development anyway, but I don't think I think it's just that I think it's where that old spiritual saying comes, where like, be true to yourself. I think addressing the ego
Mm,
is one, so there'll be someone that watches this that goes, oh, he's egotistical or he's arrogant. And there's a difference between egotism and arrogance and confidence. So the confidence is not in me. I've already expressed that. I'm an idiot. Out of here, I make mistakes, and I do whatever it is, that I do, and things go wrong and all that kind of stuff. But I'm honest with myself. I was an idiot there. I shouldn't have done that. I owe them an apology. I need to do, that kind of stuff needs to be looked at. But my confidence in a spirit world, in my team, well, that's different. They've never let me down. They've never failed me. They deliver 200 plus times a year, every year for 15 years. Like, they are never going to fail me. So the personal development aspect is, why do I react in the way that I react? Why am I affected by that? What's my emotional state? What's my mental behavior? Where am I at? And there's going to be areas in there that you don't like. And then I need to change that. I've got to look at that. I've got to be honest with that. There's a beautiful saying out there in the world. You'll have to forgive me. I don't know who done it. Someone will know. They can put it in your comments or whatever. But the magic you're looking for is in the work that you're avoiding. And that is that you don't get truer words than that. That's absolutely it. So you look at a trainee medium and they're really, really frustrated and they're plateaued and they're doing, but the fundamental work is, do not be you in a communication where you are irrelevant.
mm,
You're just a voice.
right.
But they've got to be the lead, and they've got to be center of attention, and they've got to be in control of the magic. There is enforcing the discipline where you dissolve your identity for the duration of the read. It's irrelevant. And that's the work they're avoiding there. And that's the magic on where they would elevate themselves above said plateau, where they're stagnating within their own development, is because they still need to be a vital part of that dynamic. They're just a voice. And if they don't use my voice because my ego's in the way, or I'm being passive aggressive in my offering of the statement and my understanding of it, they'll go to you.
Mhm.
And if you fail there, then they'll try another medium, and they'll try another medium, and they'll try another medium until they are heard, until it gets across. And I think they'll do that to the end of time, trying
Right.
to get their words across in a way. I just think the spirit world are meeting the same instruments over and over again with the
Right.
same restrictions, the same idea, the same. And that's why there hasn't been this elevation in progression from, you look at early 1900s mediumship to 1970s, 1980s, 1980s mediumship, and the development from there to there was magnificent. It was, oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
But from 1980 to 2024, there's been very little movement in the idea. We're still stuck in a time of. We're still stuck in a time of. You hear a lot of people talking about pioneers. They were pioneers for their time. It should have moved. It should have, the evolution of that should have moved, and there should have been new pioneers, shouldn't there? So that something's not being looked at, something's being avoided. And when you've got a conveyor belt style of mediumship, age, gender, passing, occupation, hobbies, I honestly, wholeheartedly believe that was developed for a beginner. And
Yeah.
so here's, get it up and running, learn what that feels like, do that. Now let go of that. But no one's let go of it because it works. Why would I change it? It's working. So it kind of restricts itself in that moment. It's like a
If you
safety.
let go of it, you have to do what people are saying you need to do, which is surrender and trust, right? Like
Yeah.
what you're saying, what I'm hearing is you have to actually do that. You have to surrender and trust.
Yeah,
You
it's
can't get
not
in
good
the
me
way.
saying, "I surrender every time," but give me your name, give me your passing, give me that's not that's not surrender.
That's
And
surrender.
I find that a lot in the spiritual community that their words don't match the action. So, as I surrender, you're not surrendering. You know, I'm in service, providing I get it.
Yeah, that's a big
They're not gonna
deal.
it's massive. And no one's talking about it. No one does that. But I mean, I've been banging on about it for 10 years, you know, like that's wrong. And I don't self promote. I don't write like I don't write books. I don't sell anything. I'm not trying to sell courses or anything like that. I'm not a self proclaimed world renowned medium. I'm just Charlie doing mediumship and I don't have banners or anything like that, the banners and the balloons that go with it. The evidence speaks for itself, and that's because they're doing it. I surrender to your evidence. What do you want me to say? And I'll say it. And I haven't fallen out of love with it. I'm excited by it. The magic's still in mediumship for me. I'm not frustrated. I enjoy every class that I run. I enjoy every dem that I'm doing, you know. So the magic is still very much there. And I don't ever see me not doing it.
Yeah.
In that sense. It's just I just see a lot of people's problems have been given to them. They didn't even ask for them. Yeah, the worse still, you paid for them. That annoys me. That kind of that's
You're
not a
paying a lot of
surrender. That's
money.
not a service. That's heartbreaking, really. Because I know some people are really, really dedicated and passionate about it, but they can't see beyond the idea of a tutor because they worked with that tutor from this world famous place or center or and they told me that's what I've got to do and they daren't break the rule. They daren't challenge the philosophy. They daren't challenge away. I'll demonstrate it.
I want to talk about that frustration that I've seen a lot of being in classes. I think the more than anything, I see fear, frustration, anxiety among other students, including myself at times. But to diffuse that, I mean, what you're saying is the way that they've been taught creates this frustration. But what they're doing is looking for more teachers to dissolve the frustration, to dissolve this idea that they're not good enough or what have you.
The problem is that you'll have like a typical student will go somewhere because their friend went there. Their
Right.
friend likes it and so on and so forth, and then they kind of maybe they grow apart and they try a different one, and they don't like that, so they go somewhere else, etcetera. The problem that they do, if I grab one of these, let's say this is my development, and I go into your class, Kira's class, and I go, "Right, I need to make Kira's idea fit this idea."
Yeah.
And then they take that and they don't change it. They don't change it. Like that they're lacking depth. They're lacking surrender. They're lacking discipline. They're lacking I can't turn that off. So they're lacking whatever, but they won't change this. They'll almost go, "You're wrong, Kira. I'll
Mm.
go to Charlie's class and I'll take this with me and I'll do this, and they'll lack their discipline, they'll lack their understanding, they'll lack their because they're trying the same thing. They're not prepared to change anything. And like in no other idea would you do something that always produced the same results and then moan about it. You wouldn't do
Yeah.
that. It
That's
means
such a
something
good
has to
point.
change. Something has to change.
So instead of breaking apart that notebook and just saying, what I was doing isn't working clearly, we've got to just look at things in another way. They want you to conform to what's not working.
They want my results the way they do it.
Okay.
But if you want my results, then you have to do it the way I do it, because that's taken 15 years to nurture and, you know, and be
$20,000.
brutal with myself. Yeah, exactly. And so, and what I bring to the table is what I learned was all of that. is rubbish. Let's get rid of that. So we're not even talking about that. That we're not. I'm not going to educate you in something that's wrong. Let's talk about all the stuff that's good
Yeah.
and valuable and is about change. So a real simple change would be we discuss things like a pause. A student will pause because they're scared.
Mm,
I'm
yeah.
terrified every time I stand on stage. It's unscripted. I've got hundreds of people in front of me, multiple times a week, and I'm about to do a dem that I don't know who's coming and I don't know what I'm saying. But my service is that I will say it, and my surrender is that breath where let's do it, and here we go, which is terrifying. But
Mhm.
what I cannot do is pause because Charlie will mess it up. Charlie will
So
assume, Charlie will judge.
when you see people pausing, you're saying they're trying to figure it out. They're trying to make a
And
story.
they're trying
Yeah.
to make 1 + 1 = 2.
Okay. So if you're saying you just keep talking?
Just keep well, not keep talking. I don't keep talking for the sake of talking. I
Yeah.
talk with what's coming, and the challenge there is don't let me get involved. So they want me to talk about the display cabinet. I don't go, what's in the display cabinet? Where is the display cabinet? What kind of wood is that? I'm
Yeah.
not doing that. I'm just like, right, he now wants me to talk about a display cabinet. And I'm waiting for my client to validate that, which I know is going to be yes, because they wouldn't have gave me a display cabinet if they're not going to say yes. So
Mhm.
then they say yes. Then I'm like, right, now what? And now he wants me to talk about, and I don't know what's coming next. I've got no idea what's coming next. But I do know that the client will know what it is, and I know what they're doing. What I'm not doing in my head is go, but how does that go with a display cabinet? And
Right.
there are teachers that are saying, how do you get them two together?
Yeah.
And that's wrong.
Absolutely.
That's wrong.
Absolutely.
So, like, they'll make it work and it'll be loose and it'll be generic. It'll be eye rolling stuff as an audience member.
Mhm.
Here we go.
Mhm.
Here we go. Like, I've got a mum and she loves you. Here we go. Do you get what I mean? And it's more than that. Mediumship's just more than that. More intimate than that. It's more special than the generic or your understanding my people's story. It's
It
your
has to be.
culture's completely different to mine. You're not gonna
Yeah.
understand our culture. You're not gonna get it until you've been part of it. And I travel all over the world now doing what I do in the way that I do it. And I can't take a British culture and put it in the US or in Europe or, in South America or the Far East. I can't, it just don't work. It works for Britain. So
Right.
that's it. So I need to drop that. Like that's not gonna work. We're gonna fail on every level there. So that's
I
my
also
my job there is keep me out of it. That's it.
definitely easier said than done for some of us. Um, I wanted to talk about sitting in the power. You briefly touched on this for a moment, but that's one of the key phrases that you're going to hear in mediumship, along with raising the vibration, along with chakra, along with expanding your awareness, along with them come moving closer to you.
Yeah, it's like that.
What do you think
There's
about that?
there's a difference when there's a boss, isn't there? If there's a boss that's dedicated and you can see that he's passionate or she's passionate about their work, then you don't mind working and giving everything for that boss, do you? Because you're like, look, they're doing as much as me and they're passionate, they love their work and so on and so forth. But then there's that boss that just sits and eats donuts and drinks coffee and he gets a new BMW every fucking year outside the business for your hard work,
Yeah.
for the team's hard work. And that's kind of how this is with mediumship in that sense. Chakras, like if they're blocked or they're closed, you're dead. That's that's it. Like
Yeah.
there's no one there. There is no dial on me where I'm turning up any kind of vibration or frequency. And I'm not doing that. And I think what people forget is that role of the team, the guide, the gatekeeper, the angel, whatever terminology. I'm happy with whatever terminology they want. I personally refer it to as a team. And they're dealing with all that stuff, that side, that spirit world side. So if there's an adjusting vibration or I'm getting hot or cold or my heart's beating out of my chest, That's because I'm making that connection with a spirit world, but they're dealing with that. I don't need to deal with that. I've got enough going on, keeping myself out of it. So they're changing things behind the scenes. I like crudely, the easiest way to explain a team or that power sitting in the power is that they're trying to write an instruction manual for the instrument that a communicator's about to use. And
So
and
you're
and
trying to take control.
you're trying to take control. A lot of people,
Yeah.
not you, but a lot of people are trying to take control. You watch a medium that's in development. I don't know who teaches it. I'd love to wring their neck, but it's like they approach me from the right, so I know it's mum's
Oh,
side of the
yeah.
family. Like, who's teaching that? Like, I don't understand that. Like, my nan's my nan. I
Yeah.
don't go, "Oh, that's my mum's mum, my dad's mum." I don't do that. That's my nan. And so behind the scenes, the guide would have to say to the communicator, "Whoa, don't go in on the right." They would have said you were from mum's side of the family. You need to go round on the left because you represent dad's side of the family, right? And I just want my guide to be able to say to a communicator, be careful with this one, because whatever you put there, he's gonna say. That's what I want. That's what I want to be able to do. So like he won't judge you, he won't fill in blanks, he won't make or embellish stories, he won't try and understand it. If you give him it, he'll say it. So make it clean and make it precise. So there you go, and that's it. And that's kind of what I want my guide to be able to say to the queues of communicators that I inevitably go through for clients or dems. I don't want them saying, give him 20 minutes, he does this little light ritual where he puts some roots in the ground, but he will talk for you eventually. You just got to be patient, he just needs 20 minutes, but he didn't drink his water today, and a teacher's told him that he's got to drink 2 liters of water. He's only had a liter, so he'll blame his slugginess or the clunkiness of his mediumship because he didn't drink enough water.
Filtered
Um,
water. We have to
yeah,
remember
exactly.
it's a
It's got to be
certain type of
triple
filter.
filtered, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
Or
It's
else
got
you're
to be
never
blessed as
right.
well. So, like, I imported from the Vatican itself, so it's
So now we're ready to
so
go.
blessed.
But if we talk about sitting in the power, sitting with your team, is that important, do you think, to mediumship?
I think that's more important than practice in the way that you're presenting your question. I think the idea behind it is maybe a little bit tainted. So for me, the relationship that I built with my team, because there is a number of people there for me. I know some people have one, and some people don't see their guide, but they know they're there, and all of it works.
Yeah.
I think the relationship is just me setting time aside. Like today at 4 p.m., I had to set time aside for Kira
Right.
to do a podcast.
Right.
And if I wasn't able to make it, it would have been really polite of me to say, I'm stuck in traffic, I've got a problem, I'm not going to be on time. I would let you know. I treated it like that.
Mhm.
And so for me, I picked today, for me, it was a Monday. And every Monday I would sit like a 2 hour window, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And I would just give that time to them. Like, let me sit with you. Let's be together for this moment. And sometimes there would be nothing, absolutely nothing. And other times I would have um like sensory experience, like I saw lots of different color, or I would have this range of emotion where I wanted to giggle, then I want to laugh, and then I want to cry, and then I'm sad, and I feel lonely. I feel like travel. I feel like it was just a range of emotions, things like that. Didn't question it. I
Mm.
just accepted it, whatever that is in that 2 3 hour window that I set aside. Now, 15 years down the line, I make that connection every morning, and it's like I live with them.
Yeah.
"Morning, how are you? We've got a busy day today. I've got to do a podcast later, and I've got to teach a class, and I've got to do this, that, and we're them in there." And, it's just like a check-in. And I feel their influence. I feel their instructions sometimes, like this is going to be, you're going to need a lot of energy. You're going to need to be quick. You're going to have to, I just
Mhm.
get that influence all the time around me, but it's more of a check-in now. And so I made it really natural
Mhm.
without it being like I don't have like a Zen garden and a special room and I've got to sage it before I go in there and
Yeah.
I've got the right crystals and stuff in there. It's just me, them, now. Here we are.
Do you think that, or is your experience that you just shift your attention without raising the vibration, sitting in
It's
the
that
power?
thought, isn't it? It's the thought.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the same way that I go, oh, I've got work, and then I go to work. Oh, I need to go to the shop. Then I go to the shop, don't I? So it's that thought, oh, I need to check in. I need to sit with the team. I need to sit in my power. Where are you? It's just the idea that comes with it. The problem is the idea is tainted with my experience, that tutor's experience, their stories, their way. And you forget that over time, them stories of me having this range of emotions would have come with like some sort of like ingredient that tells you, a student, that my experience was a little bit better than yours. So
Right.
imagination's tainted it a little bit and embellished it a little bit. And now it seems magical and beyond your reach. And so you're not as good as me.
Uh,
Whereas actually you can be a lot better than me. Like I'm lazy. There's areas that I need to work on or what I need to do or so the potential is like me and you are trying to be a surrendering voice for a spirit world. Let's attack it together
right.
rather than I'm better than you. Look, I've got international medium on my name now. And you go, well, I've got intergalactic on mine now. So I'm better than you. And it's just this fucking
Mhm.
competition where they say there's no competition. Don't be competitive or don't be, but it's who comes up with the next best title.
Yeah.
Who's got the next class theme or idea and everyone steal it, everyone do it. And who understands it? Who can explain it simply? Here it is. There you go. Now get on with it. And it's just anything other than that's an excuse, isn't it? Right, Kira, the spirit world are going to talk about who they are and why they miss their daughter so much. That is your client. Anything from them not doing that is an excuse. Well, I'm tired.
Yeah.
I haven't been practicing lately. It's an excuse. Just like deal with it, wear it, own it. It was your mistake. And when you can wear it like that, like own it and go, right, I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen again. Instant improvement. Instant. You don't need $900 for that. That's instant.
Or 900 practices.
Yeah, or 9 years or yeah.
The amount of practice that I'm hearing about, it's like, I just need more practice. But
I would accept because someone in the comments will go, "Well, you
yeah,
practice makes perfect."
yeah,
It
yeah,
don't.
let's talk
Failing
about
makes
it.
perfect. Failing does, not practice. And if you go in and practice something out of normal, then I agree with you. That's practice. But people aren't practicing like that. People practice their mediumship
There's
with a new client, a new client, a new student, a new exchange, but the same way of doing it, then you're just practicing stagnating. You're practicing not good mediumship. You're practicing restriction. You're practicing. So you're getting really good at the stuff that you need to change. And it makes it even harder to change because you practice a lot at, at not doing it right, at
right.
getting it wrong. And so the reluctancy is like growing with every practice. You're more and
Mhm.
more reluctant to go, I need to let go of that because you've practiced so much at it. And that's not the purpose of practice. Practice is like, I failed. This is what I need to do to change it. Now go practice that change. That's practice. And eventually you're going to find a solution in your practice that answers the change that you need to make. But no one's doing that.
I would call that discipline,
That
actually.
is discipline.
That's
Everything's
true
mindset and
discipline.
discipline. In mediumship, everything's mindset and discipline. If you,
Yeah.
whatever you think, you're right.
That's that power of thought, right?
Whatever you think, like you're going to go and get their phone number. And there's two styles of medium there, isn't there? One will go, okay, I'll go get it. And I'm like, they know their phone number, so I'll go get their phone number.
Right.
Or there's a medium goes, oh, I've never tried that before. How am I going to do that? How am I going to get it? then you don't understand communication. Go ask the person whose number it is. Go get it. Go ask them. And if you can allow the idea of that, of course they know they're going to give me a number. They'll give you the number. It'll be available in the awareness.
But what if you get it wrong? What if you're like, okay, what's the number? And then you get it wrong.
Well,
Do we
then
need to
you have
practice?
to get, yeah, no, you've got your mediumship mind, haven't you? Then you've got your human brain. So
Right.
if I say to you, they're going to give you a name, your brain goes, they're not Kira. Say Jeffrey, say Thomas, say Keith, say David, say that's not their name. Your brain, your ego is like, we're not doing that. That's too dangerous.
Hmm.
I've got a list of names here I can give you. One of them will be right. And that's your ego, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
your ego. So I need to understand when my brain's going to inject with like, I've got this, to me going, no, we don't have it.
Mm.
They'll tell us it. They'll give us it. That I use little fail safes around. So I would present an image with something that would have their name on. That's usually the mail, like in the mailbox,
You're
or a
giving
bank.
your brain something to do.
Yeah, yeah. Occupy me. I need to occupy it because if not, I'll just run rampant and destroy it, won't I? Or,
So
or
when people
I'll
are,
make it my story. I'll make it my understanding of that story, which is not my job.
so that sort of goes to with if a medium is scared of failing, which is kind of what this is about, or
Yeah.
lacking confidence or whatever you want to say. Do you think that we just need to give ourselves a job so that we get out of the way for now? And
I think for the over analytical people, I think they need to give themselves a job and get something out. So they'll be very good at imagery in that sense because they need a job to do. But it's not, again, it's not the fear of failing. It's maybe the fear of looking an idiot, a fear of getting it wrong.
right,
But the thing they're trying to avoid, they're promoting internally. They're taking control of a story that they have no context over, which in 99% of all cases, you're gonna fuck that up. You're gonna get that wrong. So
yeah.
the one thing that you're so scared of, you are still doing very deliberately. That's the wrong idea. That makes no sense to me. So if I said to you, "Don't touch that hot plate, it's hot," like you do it in a restaurant, don't you?
Hmm.
Like the waiter comes up and says, "Don't touch the plate, it's hot." The moment the waiter turns their back, you're like, "I wonder if it is." Stop. Oh, it's hot. It's hot. And
Yeah.
everyone's like, "But they told you it was hot." That's what you're doing in mediumship. So, and the one thing you must do in mediumship is don't touch the plate. Don't touch it. You know it's hot.
Yeah.
Don't. How many times? And if you practice that as well every day, every single day you're practicing mediumship. Every single day you're checking if the plate's hot when you've already been told it's hot.
Right.
And here we are 2 years down the line, and you've burnt yourself every single day. Says to me, maybe you're not learning. Maybe you're not developing because you still need to double check that that plate's hot. I just now I have faith that they've told me the plate's hot. I'm just going to take their word for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm just not going to touch it because see, when I burn my hand, that hurts. I don't like it. I don't like burning my hand. So I'm just gonna believe you. It's hot, and I'm just gonna get on with it. I'm just gonna carry on,
But
and that is progression. I'm progressing at that point.
for someone, I know we're almost out of time, but for someone who doesn't understand their mind is getting involved, if someone's getting like Jim, Jeff, Keith, but they don't get, they're like, must be spirit because I heard it. How is, so I guess I think I've answered my own question. If they get a no, they know they've gotten involved,
I got it wrong.
right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's that simple, right? You get a no,
yeah,
it was you. That's
yeah, yeah.
easy way to say it,
Absolutely. But
right?
if you give them a tool like a pen and paper in your head, write your name for me, and you go, oh, it's James. You can
Right.
see that they wrote James or whatever, and you offer that, and the client says yes, then that definitely works for you, doesn't it? Like
Right.
continue with that. That one works. So whenever the reality is, look, whenever we get a no, we got involved somewhere,
Yeah.
and my discipline is find that fast, find that quick. Where did I get involved there? How did I wreck that?
Hmm.
And then repackage it. And usually that's a yes because I owned it. What I see a lot of mediums doing is saying, "Well, they won't take it away.
Yes. Yeah.
They won't take it," or it's a forceful statement. I'm forcing it on you now because I can't look an idiot. I can't be
Right.
seen to be getting it wrong. Whereas I just own it. It's mine. I did that. I messed up. Sorry. I thought about it. I paused. My brain gave me an answer. You do it with age, don't you?
Mhm.
Like, I'm going to ask their age, and your brain's like 71, 42, 39. It's like a fucking bingo hall, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's just these
Absolutely.
numbers just start coming from everywhere. So I know I've got to trick me out of the way, so there'll be certain elements of it. The reality is, why are we going for the age? Like, if you tell me I lost my mum last year, I lost my dad this year, I've had a terrible 12 months. But if you ask me their age, I kind of go 60 something, 70 something. I don't really know. The only time it really comes into play is with my 18-year-old sister. I know that one. But when like I forget my own age. And I'm not going to remember all the people in the spirit world and their age. I'm like, I don't know, 40 something. So who's asking that? Is the spirit world coming in and going, you need to tell them that I'm a 46-year-old man, and you need to tell that I don't think they're doing that.
That's such a good point. They're
I
not
think I think they're coming
hardly
in and going,
listening.
"Look, if you listen to me, Kira, I'll make you look amazing.
Mm.
Tell them about that baseball that I threw in their face."
That would be that's an awesome thing. I mean, if we talk about evidence and blowing people's minds, that's what it is
That's what you
someone
have to do though,
actually
isn't it? But
sharing,
if
right?
you want it to sound like, your favorite TV medium or whoever,
Mhm.
then by all means have that controlling aspect within it, but you're gonna need a good PR company, you're gonna spend a fortune in sponsored ads and, et cetera,
Yes.
or let them
Thing.
do it for you. So,
Right.
one of my favorite ones that I can share was in Geneva. I was working in Geneva, and I remember, doing a dem, and I said, "I know that I need to be laying on the grass. The lady that I need to speak to," we stared at the stars, and I licked a frog.
Oh, that's that like, tripping thing that people are
Tripping,
doing?
yeah.
Yeah.
A
That
and a woman in my French audience was like, "Yep, you're with me."
that's amazing.
And that's when I was like, "Right, I just gotta listen to these, because
Yeah.
they do it." But because I was that idiot. I was doing, "I've got a man, he's in his 70s, he dies of heart attack,
I'm only
breathing
laughing
complaints."
because I've done it so many times, and
We've
I'm
all
just
done it, and the
we've all
reality
done
is
it.
we've all done it, and we've all been there, and but it's more than that. And the purpose of these talks or these discussions that I have with podcasters and mediums alike is to broaden the idea. You said it at the start of this podcast. People aren't talking about it, and that's
Mm-mm.
because they're worried of offending a tutor or tarnishing the idea of a pioneer. But pioneers grow in time. And
Yeah.
so there's different pioneers for different things and different ways and moving forward. And we are moving forward and
We
we're
think so.
understanding it a lot better and we get it a lot better. So the reality is in 1940, the mediumship was really good for
Mhm.
1940.
Yeah.
In 2024, that wouldn't stand up today. We understand the difference between psychic work and mediumship, communication, even mentalist work with the appearance of cold
Mhm.
reading. And we understand that now. We didn't in 1940. And so things have changed and ideas have changed. Am I taking away any kind of value from a pioneer? Absolutely not. We wouldn't be here today being able to do this because of the pioneers. But there will be more pioneers. There will be new ideas. There will be easier and newer ways than this very restrictive, fearful, egotistical kind of way of working when we've got to break those barriers down. So if I talk about it, you talk about it, your viewers start talking about it very quickly, a few more people are talking about it. So that's how it starts, isn't it?
And that's why I wanted to have you here today. So, for I know we didn't get to your history or anything like that, but I would like to direct people to your YouTube page for that anyways, which is Medium Charlie Kelly,
That's it. Yeah, Medium Charlie Kelly on YouTube. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
also your website, Medium Charlie Kelly
Yeah,
UK. Yeah.
.co.uk on that one, yeah, so
Yeah. And
Yeah,
also
so it's
for
really simple to find me. It's just Medium Charlie Kelly on all socials,
right,
and they can access that there. You're probably not talking to me though. You're probably talking to Carol.
Carol Ann,
Um, if you get involved with
the
that,
most incredible woman. Yes.
that's her pride and joy, or her admin and what have you. You know, so that's the reality. If there is a question asked regarding mediumship, although she's a very accomplished medium herself, it is my answer. So it is the way that I work. Then I take over that kind of thing. So, or she types it for me as I'm speaking it. But yeah, so
Perfect.
just for full transparency there, if they're reaching out and they think they're talking to me, but yeah,
A
the
lot to
pioneer
do.
flyer today. I can wait.